I love the who, not how reference that you just mentioned. Obviously, we are the who for finance, so those owners don't have to worry about the how of that. But for us, we try to create their business into a winnable game, and we do that through the lens of a scoreboard. So if you think about the lens of finance or P&L and a balance sheet, those are lag measures, right? So you get to the end of the month, you've already performed all the work, and then we're reporting back on that. So it's good to see trends and historical stuff. But when we're digging in with these business owners, we say, like, we need to create some metrics that are lead measures, not lag measures, so you know that this consistent activity is actually going to produce better profits for you once we get the lag measure results on the P&L and balance sheet.
All right, welcome back to another episode of The Flip Side with your host, me, Blake Schultz. I've got no stranger to y'all if you've been following this for a while, Mr. Austin McMillan. Thanks for being here.
Fired up to be here, Blake.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Good friend of mine. This is take 3. We did the original episode where we kind of talked about who you are, where you come from, your past, what Flywheel is, and then we did another episode that I lost, and so we didn't get to post it. And so this is kind of a retake for that, which is good. So that was kind of like a test run, and now we know what we can and shouldn't talk about.
Can't get enough practice in. That's right.
That's right. So thanks for coming back and entertaining me with take 3.
I love it, man.
Awesome. All right, so Flywheel, just real quick, give us the 30-second pitch for those who maybe didn't see the first episode. What is it? Who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've kind of figured out in the world of small business that tons of small business owners hate accounting, hate numbers, hate doing the back end office work to actually make their company drive forward. And so we basically take all of that off of their plate. So Flywheel is essentially a outsourced accounting solution for small businesses. So we take all of that junk that they don't want to do, help them produce it, build the scoreboard for their business, which is the financials of their business, and just churn like clockwork so they can focus on growth, building their team, all the things they got in the business to originally do. So yeah. We love it, man. It's a lot of fun. We love serving a lot of business owners.
Yeah, you've gotten so good at condensing that too. That's perfect. I love it. That's perfect. All right, so we're not going to dive into the whole history, but just for those who haven't heard that first one, so you started with just you and one Mario, the one assistant, right?
Yep.
And it's grown to how many are on the team now?
Yeah, we got 5 on the team now, and then we have some contract bookkeepers on the team as well that we also do for just like admin, clerical type things.
Yeah.
So.
And then you just brought on a huge key hire.
Yeah, so we just hired a CPA that's going to help me really strategize to add even more value to our clients. And so whether that's certain tax strategies that we're doing deep dives on right now, or just bringing another level of saying like, okay, here's what we see inside the P&L and the balance sheet to really kind of like dive into the history and the kind of direction and trend of each of the different clients' businesses that we're operating with, and really set them up for success to say like, hey, what's your plan moving forward, so we can like have a goal for these business owners to say like, are you selling one day? Do you want to carry it on forever and hand it off to your kids? Let's like kind of make a strategy basically. And he's a key hire to kind of bring this on, and as well as not just do that with our clients, but also really help manage the team that we're building that are all producing financials every month for all of our clients.
Yeah, and I think that's important to note is you do the P&L, the balance sheet, the income expense, the accounting work, but also kind of the Hermosi style that you and I studied a good bit last year of how can you continue to add value, and the perceived value is higher than the cost of the service. So you're going a step further and saying, how can we help you plan? Kind of a financial planner to an extent of you're helping plan their finances of the future. Because as an entrepreneur, it's so easy to get into the weeds of just the day-to-day, and it's hard to back up. So you got to have an outside service that just does the numbers for you, but they're saying, hey, let's take a second to back up and let me show you what we're seeing on the numbers side, and maybe give you some direction and insight on what could help you grow in the future. Yeah,
for sure. And one of the things we just talked about in one of our team meetings is saying, like, let's sit down with all of our business owners and say, what are your long-term goals? Regardless, financial or whatever, just tell us what your long-term goals are, and we can communicate your financials in light of your long-term goals. So it makes more sense to them to say, like, okay, well, if your goal is to build hard for 15 years and then have your highest ticket sale price for the business in 15 years, then let's build for that, push wealth aside to your family for those first 10 plus years, and then set you up for success to sell that business one day at a high sticker price, in that 15-year mark. So really it's just lining those things up to the goals that they have articulated, and that's telling them through the lens of the P&L and the balance sheet, this is how you're doing or not doing based on what your goals look like. Mm-hmm. So it's like, because at the end of the day, really, when you, from a business owner, when you go through school or even jumping in to start your own business, no one like teaches you how to like read a P&L and like how to. So when you get that information from a typical bookkeeper or some outsourced accounting department, then the owner's like, all right, great. I got my P&L. I don't even know what to look at or what this even means. So I'm just going to get back into doing what I normally do.
Is the bottom number negative? Yes, no? Okay.
That's right. So we're trying to play the gap, basically, to say, like, let's be your financial partner to help you grow in the goals that you have in life, and not just be the person that delivers a P&L and a balance sheet.
Yeah. And so that CPA hire was key because y'all have grown exponentially over the past, 18 months to where it's you can only be so many places at once. And
yeah, that's right.
He's an extension of you, and I guess the goal is to continue to grow and bring on more.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we want to serve as many small business in the service-based industry. We're niched down in the service-based industry, but we just want to serve as many small business owners as possible that are growth-minded, right? So, like, we want to help people understand, like, here's where your current profit is. Here's what you can do to increase your profit over the next few years to get these to reach the goals that you're looking for. Or really partner with these business owners, and we want to bring them in. So we handle that for them. They trust us, and then we allow them to do what they do best, which is sales and growing the team and all the things they got in business to do originally for.
Yeah. I feel like you're really good at trying what we just mentioned, but having that perceived value much higher than what the actual cost is. What are some of those things? What are those key items and key things you do for your clients that reflect that?
Yeah. So really, it's just getting on and building that relationship with these guys. So, like, if you think about bookkeeper, really, there's kind of 4 phases of every financial wing of partnerships inside of a business. The first one is kind of that bookkeeping, clerical, let's just reconcile the bank accounts, get your true P&L and balance sheet in your hands, right? So you have that aspect of it. Then you have a controller, which a lot of people bring on at some point in their business to kind of handle the accruals and like really diving in to make sure that the bookkeeper's actually doing what they should be doing, because a lot of bookkeepers, they're just coding things, right? They're not necessarily like thinking like an owner or understanding the flow or the trends of a business. So you really need that controller aspect to come in there and do that. And then you have like your forecasting section of finances to say like, okay, here's where you're at. Here's what you've done so far historically. Here's what you can project out in the future based on what we see trending in your business. And then the fourth and final kind of top tier of that is like a CFO. And that's a person that's like strategically partnered with you as an owner to say like, okay, I'm going to make sure that your organization is fiscally secure. And when you're thinking about major purchases, acquisitions, bringing on key team members, any of the, things that you need to do to grow, and how do we leverage the margin in our business to grow, that's when that strategic partner comes in to really trying to give guidance as a CFO. Mm-hmm. So really right now, we absolutely handle the bookkeeping and the controller aspects of, every business that we serve. And what we're getting into is the financial forecasting and the CFO type world to say like, here's how we can like serve you as a business owner. Mm-hmm. So that we are providing the service and the level of service that you expect to come from like just having a partner in your business that understands you, understands what your goals are, and can speak to that through the lens of finance.
Yeah. Which is incredible because I don't know your pricing, but I would assume it's a lot less than having 3 to 4 additional employees for a business, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's basically what you're replacing.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So for us, it's like we try to do all of this less than the price of one full-time employee for you. And it makes sense. And it's a seasonal side of a business, right? There's always going to be a flow at some point where you're like, I need a full-time CFO dedicated just to me as an owner once I reach a certain amount. But really, that kind of ebbs and flows based on the industry and like how big of a company it is, and when you're trying to build your own leadership team inside of your own organization. And that really doesn't happen until like way down the road as you continue to grow. So we're trying to fill the gap of saying like, when you're just starting out in business and growing pretty significantly, we can handle all of that work for you. So you're never having to worry about it. It's kind of the who, not how concept, right? It's just like, we are your who for finance. And we're going to solve all that stuff for you, so then you can go do the hows of all the things that you've got in business originally go do.
Okay. Man, that do a lot of owners even realize that that's needed? Because I feel like they're maybe just so in the weeds or just in their business, and they take a week or a day a year just say like, okay, what am I going to plan for this year? But do they even stop to, not even plan, but 2, even realize that they're not doing it, so they need someone like you?
Yeah, I mean, I think most of the time it ends up just saying like finance and accounting just pushes to the end of the line. There's so many more urgent fires in a business typically that business owners are just like, we'll get to that later. My CPA will handle it at the end of the year. And then all of a sudden they get a $50,000 tax bill from the IRS. And they're like, well, shoot, I don't even have the cash to pay this stuff. And it's because no planning happened and there was no strategy to their business, right? So that's the thing that we're trying to prevent with these owners is to say like, okay, look, if we're doing your accounting every single week and every single day inside of your world, we know what your business looks like. So now we can build strategy to say like, no, you're not going to have to pay a $50,000 tax bill. We can understand what that looks like to try to reduce it based on the lens of your business. Because when you just sit there and just say like, hey, I got enough, here's what I think most business owners do that don't like care about finances and understand really the value behind it is they say, I got enough money in my bank because I can log into my bank and I can see it. And as long as that money doesn't run out, I'm just going to keep putting out the fires that I need to be putting out. So there's no strategy to increase profit or just like make your company better. And ultimately, if you want to sell that, that's vastly important to do. And so for us, we take that to a whole different level and say like, we handle 100% for you. And then we show you way more than just your bank account balance. We get you through the lens of saying like, here's how you grow. Here's how you go to acquire other businesses. Here's what you're like that aligns with your long-term goals. And we're trying to be that financial partner with these guys.
We talk a lot about the concept in our little mastermind about who, not how, replacing yourself, being proactive instead of reactive to the day. And so if you're a business owner just always running around putting out fires, that's the opposite of what we try to do in our own businesses and try to help other people do. And so is that part of what Flywheel can do is to, help kind of project what the finances are, plan it, have some strategy behind there, but also say, hey, this is where you're spending your time based off what I'm seeing on the finances. What if you hired that out, find some people, replace yourself, buy back your time, if you will? Is that kind of a component of this where you're helping them do that as well?
Yeah, so I think the best way for us to condense it down is, I love the who, not how reference that you just mentioned. Obviously, we are the who for finance, so those owners don't have to worry about the how of that. But for us, we try to create their business into a winnable game. And we do that through the lens of a scoreboard. So if you think about the lens of finance or P&L and a balance sheet, those are lag measures, right? So you get to the end of the month, you've already performed all the work, and then we're reporting back on that. So it's good to see trends and historical stuff. But when we're digging in with these business owners, we say, like, we need to create some metrics that are lead measures, not lag measures, so you know that this consistent activity is actually going to produce better profits for you once we get the lag measure results on the P&L and balance sheet. Mm-hmm. So we're working with business owners to say, like, what is your scoreboard that you're measuring consistently, weekly, daily? What does that look like? So do you know the activity that you're doing now, that is the proactive activity, not the reactive activity, is going to produce the profits that you want to see that ultimately reach the goals that you want to see.
Yeah, I think that's so important to be intentional with your day, not running around putting out fires, but saying, okay, I've done the homework and I've identified what the highest and best use of my time is, the highest dollar producing activity I can do. And as long as I've, as long as I've found some who's like Flywheel to replace the things that I worry about, that I'm not great at, that maybe are fires in my head, I can focus on these few activities that really are those lead measures, right?
Yep.
And let me just drive into those to where when we get that lag measure, the P&L, the balance sheet, it reflects it.
Yep.
And you can't lie. Like the sheets don't lie, right?
That's
the
right.
numbers don't lie. So when you get those and you're like, well, if I look back at my month and I can really track what I did, I ran around in circles a bunch putting fires out, and now that's showing on the balance sheet.
That's exactly right.
Are you seeing that a lot in different owners where you can tell who's a little bit more structure, who's more proactive and not?
Yeah, absolutely. So going back to finance, I mean, the consistent conversations we're having is, why are these owners spending their time doing those things that they, like you said, could hire out for or do higher value things that add more value to their business, right? Mm-hmm. So really, I mean, if you think about the job of an owner, they're essentially in every phase of their season are trying to fire themselves from the current role that they're currently doing so they can get to the next step. Right. And so if owners continue to do that, then their business will continue to grow, but they got to find the good partnerships and the good team members to go do those things so that portion of the business still grows while they get out of that seat to keep doing other things that they, in their unique ability, go do.
Yeah.
Right. And so perfect example is that we're in the landscape. Like we serve a ton of service-based industries, but some of our clients are in the landscape world, and we're having conversations with them, and we're like, why are you the one on a mower 8 hours a day if you're the owner of the business? And you're also barely charging that client because that client's been with you for 10 years. Like, you're losing money every time you get in the truck to drive to that property because your machine and all the things are more expensive than what you're making on that property. So we get to see it through the lens of like the math. If the math's not mathing, then we got to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
And so we see it through that lens, and we say like, listen, two things got to change. You either got to get off that mower, or you got to charge way more if that's something that's in your unique ability and you just love doing, which we have that conversation as well. Then you need to be charging way, way, way more for that property that you're cutting in order to even make your business work. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people, like, it's interesting. You get in the flow, and you know, businesses can get complicated really fast because you got the relational game that you're playing, and this person's been with me for a long time. Mm-hmm. And we try to be that like reasonable, like non-relational aspect accountability partner in their business to say like, we don't know about that relationship, but all we do know is that you're losing money.
Yeah.
You know? And so we try to create these profit audits for these guys to say like, here's where your strengths are, here's where your weaknesses are in business. And let's build this in to say like, we either need to change pricing, we need to change how your labor's working. There's a whole lot of factors that go into that to ultimately get the profit that you want to see. But these are the conversations that we're having with owners.
Okay. So for the entrepreneur out there, the self-employed guy, maybe it's just him, maybe he's got him and one other person in real estate, landscaping, whatever industry, what's the first thing they need to look at? Is it just to call you, or is it what's a change they can make in their business?
Yeah, for us, what we got two kind of programs that we offer for really any service-based small business owner. If you're doing less than $1 million in revenue, it sounds like this guy that's your example, he's got him and one other guy, and they're out cutting grass. The first thing I would tell them is let us teach you how to build a foundation as an owner, because regardless if finance is your weakest link as an owner, you still need some kind of knowledge of how to like assess your business, regardless how much you hate it. Because if you don't know, if you're just completely blind to it, there's no way you can ever significantly grow as a business owner. And so what we try to do for those guys that are less than $1 million in revenue is teach them a foundational. It's literally like I'll meet with you 8 weeks in a row to build these principles. We call it the profit playbook. And we literally show you these principles that you need to get in the rhythm of doing on a weekly, monthly basis for you as a small business owner to really understand and think through, I can make it a system that I fall back on and understand how my finances are doing through that lens. And then once you reach a certain point, $1 million plus for us, that's when we come in and say, we can be your full-fledged department. And it makes sense for you financially for us to do that because you're at a certain revenue target. And now we can get you from $1 million to whatever you're dreaming about, based on us handling all of that for you as a trusted partner.
Well, very cool. So let's dive into kind of switching gears a little bit. I want to talk about, and I didn't prep you for this at all, but I want to talk about AI. Is that in your business at all? Do you see it coming? Is there going to be a future where I don't even need accounting because just AI does it for me? What are you seeing coming? Yeah,
great question. Accounting, I mean, AI is fascinating to me. We are leveraging in the business. If you think about really, every industry has the opportunity to start leveraging AI in it. Anything that's repetitive in any industry has the opportunity to use it. Accounting, by nature, is very ripe for the picking because a lot of the stuff that we do is repetitive by nature. So we're trying to stay in the forefront of doing that. There is a world, I think, for sure, that goes back to the point we made earlier, is if you're looking for somebody literally just to code transactions and do the bookkeeping, like do the bank recs, AI will eventually take that over. We're leveraging that so our team does that, so our team doesn't have to spend the time doing that. They can do more high-level relational things for our clients. So if that's the solution you're looking for, yep, that's coming down the road for sure. But the downside is that doesn't give you what you need to actually increase profits, understand where you're going, how the finances ties into your long-term goals. Like really have that person to kind of hold you accountable to get to this place that you want to get to in business. And so we're trying to fill the gap, not just from like getting out of the bookkeeping weeds, but having that relational equity with these owners to say, we understand you. We understand what it takes to get there. We're going to hold your foot to the fire to make sure that you're doing the right things to get there. And then also we're like thinking through not just bookkeeping side of it, but how much money is actually going to you and your family every year for you building this business? Are you cutting half a check to the government that you shouldn't be cutting? So it's getting into the whole lens of like tax strategy, wealth generation that all these business owners are getting into business originally to go do. We're trying to be that partner in their life to go help them do that.
I love that. And you just flew by the fact that Flywheel is embracing AI and using it inside its own company.
Yeah.
I think it's again, it's just probably second nature, just another Tuesday for you. But so many businesses have been doing it the exact same way before AI, maybe even before the internet, and they're just like, no, we do it our own way. Ignore all that, and if we ignore it, maybe it'll go away. What we're seeing is it's not going away, and excuse me, for some people, it's going to eventually replace them. And so you're seeing that and saying, no, bring that into my business and be the best at using it. So then all the other valuable stuff that we can provide that AI cannot replace, at least yet, we're going to be the best at that. I think that's so important to harp on, because I mean, my being as the realtor industry is, the average age is much older than me. I don't know what it is, but a lot older. And so I see that same thing anytime new technology or even a new contract is rewritten. We lose some percentage of the the industry of people in it, 'cause they're just like, I'm not learning something new.
Yeah.
Right. I went to electronic signatures years ago, and like 10% of the industry disappeared. Right. I'm making that number up, but it was a lot, because it's like, I'm not learning something new.
Yeah.
And some of it was forced. Like our office is now all paperless, and you don't have an option. And so if people just won't I guess update themselves, then they get out of it. So
yeah, it's so true. I mean, you have to be growth minded to try to grow, right?
Yeah.
And so like growth minded is adapting to new technologies, doing things a new way when there's better ways to do things. And so for us, every person on our team is incentivized to figure out what are they currently doing that AI could do for them. Go figure that out, and they'll make more money when they do that. Mm-hmm. Because I know as a business owner, like as you implement that stuff, now a machine's doing this, that's not making mistakes, that's not, missing deadlines, that's not doing all these things that we need it to do that a human might do. And now the human gets the aspect of like doing the relational side, which is never going to go away, by the way. I don't care what AI ever looks like. There's always going to be a relationship to relationship dynamic like bond between people. And so we're playing that game of saying like, let us be the person in that world to get you to the next level, while we have the bots or the agents or whatever you want to call them doing the things that no one should be doing anymore. Right. And so I've heard it said time and time again, AI is not going to replace people. AI is going to replace people that don't leverage AI.
Yeah.
And so you just have to adapt and learn and go with the game. And we're doing that. So we're using ChatGPT operators right now. I think they actually just converted over to, I think, called agents. But basically they're coming in and we're teaching it how to do things. We're spending a lot of time that seems inefficient now to train these things, how we run our business, how we hit deadlines, how we have standard operating procedures, and teaching it what to go do. And I just know it has a long-term payoff, even though it's inefficient now, because that machine will ultimately be running things that people used to be running, and now they can do a lot better things.
So if you continue to do that and teach this machine how to exactly operate, 3-4 years from now, it's going to be so specific to that role and so knowledgeable in that role, it'll just be an expert at it. This is where I don't know how AI in depth works, but can you take that and then sell that learned agent to another company that does exactly what you do that could replace somebody?
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of people are trying to build the software aspect of AI, is to like build it custom catered to specific industries and then sell that at mass scale.
Yeah.
It's not something I've looked into at all. We're trying to just build it inside for what we're currently doing. And in fact, I was talking to a friend the other day that's more knowledgeable than me about AI stuff. And he basically said, look, we're still so much at the tip of the iceberg. A lot of things you're having to like manufacture and create from scratch through a ChatGPT prompt or whatever. Give it 6 months to a year. Those people that are focused on the software to roll out to every industry are going to create something better than what you're having to force now. So just keep doing what you're doing, but eventually there'll be a platform that you could just subscribe to, like a Google or whatever, that you can just come in and allow it to do the bookkeeping, because it's trained on all the different scenarios that they've built it for.
The base is built, and then whatever your specific needs are, it would learn from there.
And honestly, I think it's just a matter of time before every industry has something like that, right? And we've already seen so many different platforms that have niched down into, whether it's House Call Pro or all these types of invoicing, whatever. It's going to be the same thing with AI, right? You're going to have these specific bots that are built for your industry, that understand your industry, and it should be a fairly affordable price from what you would be paying an employee to go do stuff for. Mm-hmm. And then now your team just gets to level up.
So AI is it's at the very front end of AI, and it seems like everywhere I turn on social media or the internet, there is an offering for a shiny object for it to replace something. From a business standpoint, how do you ignore those, and how do you know what to take advantage of?
Yeah, it's a great question, man. It's hard because it's such the wild, wild west. You just don't know like what's going to work and what's not going to work.
Mm.
But you have to go back to the foundation of your company. So it's like, I don't need to be going exploring some AI thing that does something that we don't currently do, right? And so for me, it's just the lens of saying like, okay, the things that we're exploring in there is to say like, we still have to get our work done every single day, and we set priority. Every team member does inside of our company. Say, what's the one thing that needs to happen today to make today a success? Everybody does it. And so when you do that consistently, it's hard for you to spend a lot of time exploring things that don't directly apply to the one thing that you're trying to accomplish that lines up with your quarterly goal. And so for us, that's probably the best way to do it, is just come back to the values, come back to the systems that we've already built and say, does this add value or does this help us do this better? Mm-hmm. And if it doesn't, we got to say no for now.
Yeah.
Maybe not forever, but we got to say no for now to see if this actually fits our mold.
Yeah, that's good. That's much more controlled response than usually what I go to of like, oh, let me explore it real quick. And then 10 minutes later, I'm like, okay, that was a huge waste of time. And
well, don't get me wrong. I definitely do that. I just probably do it on Friday night and Saturdays versus like during the work day. But it's like so tempting, because it's fascinating. It's fascinating what this technology is doing.
Yeah. Flywheel is experiencing exponential growth right now. What does a normal day look like for you?
Yeah, so every day I have to touch on three things: vision, people, and money. I think that's something every CEO has to focus in on. Right now, in this particular season of my business, I'm actually sitting in the seat of marketing to understand that, to hire for it, as I'm climbing this ladder to eventually replace myself in every seat that I sit in. So marketing's my main focus right now, but every day I have to touch on those three things.
That's great. Okay, so you've got three things that every CEO needs to focus on every single day. I want to talk about those. So you said vision, people, and money.
Yep.
Okay, so tell me about vision. What does that mean?
So vision basically has to say like, where is the company headed, so that everybody on your team gets excited for it and their own vision for their life fits inside of that, right? So I have to be the one to craft this vision that is big enough to say like, this is a fun thing to go chase, but is also big enough that every person on the team says, I can't wait to chase this as well because it's going to fulfill what I desire in my own life. So it's fairly complicated to get into, and it takes a lot of time to continue to craft, and we're still working on it, right? Especially as we bring new team members on, we're still working on that. But it's just something that's so much fun for me, and I have to articulate that well to the team so that they know this is where we're headed. Second
daily focus of a CEO is people.
Yep. So this is probably my favorite part of what we get to do, because I love people. And so my focus for them, almost a weekly question I have for all of them, is, what are you doing now that you hate doing? Because I want to continue for them to tell me, because I can't see everything they're doing all day, every day. But I want them to continue to tell me, here's what I hate doing, here's what I love doing. I need to do more of what I love doing. And then I'm thinking, how do we craft their role more and more into their unique ability so they love showing up for work every single day? And you can't ever get 100%. But my goal is to get them into their unique spot as best as possible. It's the best seat on that bus, right? And so that's my focus every day, is to say like, okay, how are they operating? Are they going against the guidelines that we've set for their role? And how are they doing from an enjoyment and fulfillment standpoint to make sure that they're happy in the vision that we're going in?
Daily focus number 3 of a CEO.
Money.
So
we specialize in. Money's all about margin, right? And so I don't care what your revenue is doing. It's all about what your take home's doing, because your take home is what's going to allow you to be able to reinvest. It's the fuel for growth in your business. And so really a focus behind that is profit audits, making sure that we're consistently hitting the profits that we want to hit based on the revenue that we're currently at in that season, and then using that money as smart capital to say, it's not just play money for me to go take home and spend on vacation. What are we doing to grow in the business to really make our company better?
That's great. One thing that, as we went through that, what was the $100 million leads or sales last year, and this is so obvious since I read it and since it just, I'm a slow learner, but measuring profit, not that gross revenue. And it's, every realtor does this, and I'd still do it, is, all right, my goal this year is 10 million in sales or 20 million in sales. What does it matter? And that's kind of what that book opened up, and how I really shifted my goals for the year. Of, I had a pretty big sales goal this year, and then it was about the time we read that book, and I was like, that's the dumbest goal in the world. Because if I have a 0.1% profit margin off that, then I'm making 10 times less than if I sell half of that, but a better margin. And so it really had me flip what my goals were for the year and ignore, it doesn't matter if I sell 1 million, if I'm 50% profit, then I'm doing great, right?
That's exactly right.
And so that's where my focus shifted. And so is that one of the main principles you teach, is just look at that back end?
100%. So you have, so we use labor as a key metric. So you got to know what your labor efficiency ratio is, because we specialize in the service-based industry. So we're teaching people to say, like, if we can condense your whole business down into like one or two things, this is what you need to do based on a certain number that's unique to your business to produce the profits that you should be hitting, what we expect you to hit based on the industry that you're in. And so it is all about profit. You're exactly right. Because we've seen time and time again, companies doing fantastic revenue for their industry, and the business owner is literally stressed every single time payroll runs, because he doesn't have margin, doesn't have money in the bank to go pay payroll. And his revenue looks great. He can tell all his friends he wants to that I'm doing $5 million in revenue. Yeah. But he's not making any money to make payroll. So it's like, it doesn't matter. You're just stressed. It's even more stress because you got a bigger company with more stress. And so, it's all about profit in our opinion.
Well, I think we had a discussion over a builder who was doing, I think he scaled it to 15 million one year. And then it's like, that was ridiculous. Scaled back down to 10 and is more profitable now and enjoying life better because you're, 65%, 66% of the size you were, so maybe less employees, just less going on, and you can focus more on that profit.
Yep.
And then if you decide to grow from there, which we don't know what he's doing now, but that you've kind of learned what that looks like, and if you have the profitability for first method and strategies and systems in place at 10 million, then you can strategically grow with those same processes bigger instead of just saying yes to $5 more million of business than trying to figure it out.
That's exactly right. So like for us, we tell people, no matter what your revenue looks like, million, 10 million, whatever, you have to figure out how to become profitable now, not think, oh, I can just not make profit now, and then at some point down the road I can make profit. Because if you can't build the systems now to make profit, it's very unlikely that you're going to build them at some point, some revenue target that you will become profitable at that point. Yeah. So we try to spend time to really build that out for business owners.
Yeah, it's just building that foundation of running correctly.
And it's discipline at the end of the day, right? It's just like you have to be disciplined to look at certain things consistently over time to really tweak and grow in that space. And if, like, no one gets in the business thinking like, I'm going to work twice as hard as I did as my W-2 and make way less money, right? A lot of times that happens.
Yeah.
But it's because they're not tracking the right things. Yeah. So we try to help people track the right things.
But they think they're in control of their time, so it's worth it, right?
That's right. That's exactly right.
Working twice as hard. Oh, man, that's interesting. All right, so normally kind of going towards the end of the show, I ask about book recommendations. We've mentioned one that you just reread over and over. And I love, and unlike me, that I try to just, I'm reading 2 books right now, and then I'm paying attention to a third of whatever they say. You've picked one, and you're just going deep in it, which I love. So what is it?
It's honestly the first time I've done that, by the way, because I used to be second I finished another one, pick up the next one. It was just so much fun for me. This one I've just been sitting in for the past year, and it's opened my eyes to a lot because there's just so much that I've even missed rereading it multiple times. And it's all about what you resonate with in the season of life that you're in. So Buy Back Your Time is it for me. And so it's a book that I've just continued to study and trying to implement in every phase of the business that we're in. So every chapter, it's just such a playbook for business. And so I literally take it speaks directly to where we're at, and I'm just applying principles from that book, chapter by chapter by chapter by chapter. Yeah. So I'm just sitting in it. So the concept of it is don't hire to grow your business, hire to buy back your time. Yeah. Because it's a calendar over capacity problem. Right. So you have to look at your calendar and say, is that the most important things I could be doing that's a unique value to me when I live out my week every single week? And if it's not, I need to hire to get chunks of that off of my calendar so that I can fill my calendar with the things I need to be doing every week.
Mm-hmm. And then it actually takes that concept or that idea and puts actionable things of how to make that happen behind it in the book.
That's exactly right.
And I know that because it's one of the 2 that I'm partially paying attention to and reading right now. So I'm about 60% through.
Let's go.
But it's funny because I think it's the first time I'm actually going through and reading it. But the stories in it and the principles are stuff that I've heard mostly from you, but just over the past year or 2. And I'm like, I know this story. I know how this ends, but I've never actually read this. It's kind of funny. I heard something yesterday that just talking about kind of that same concept of just going deep onto one thing instead of just skipping around like I do a lot, is you're very rarely am I going to read a book and learn a new like concept, right? I mean, the idea of growing a business and how to run a business, it's pretty much all the information's out there. And we've heard or seen or read most of it by now. It's really the inaction that I think stalls people out. Like for me, like this information's great. Our 2 books came in the mail yesterday that I heard someone mention. I'm like, gotta buy those. And so now one of them's how to make a couple $1 billion. You might have read
I've read that one,
hadn't read it yet. And then there's a couple more sitting on my desk. And so I imagine that's not going to have any groundbreaking ideas or principles that I haven't heard. Maybe it's got some new stuff that I haven't really heard the way he phrases it, but at the end of the day, there's probably nothing groundbreaking for me in that book.
Yeah.
But if I took that book or Buy Back Your Time or Built to Sell or any of the books that are kind of the hot button right now and doing what you're doing and just going deep and saying, all right, I'm just going to, The One Thing by Gary Keller, that's a big one.
Yep.
And I'm just going to only do what this book says and just live out the principles, which is what you're doing this year. And you're seeing the return of that just tenfold because you're going through with it instead of just reading it and saying, that's pretty cool. What's next?
Well, like I said, this is the first time I'm doing it, but I am seeing massive payoff from it. And once again, I think it's unique to the person of what resonates with them and the book that they read.
Yeah.
So like to me, what's challenged me in this season, seeing the fruit from it, is every new book that I pick up, if something resonates deeply with me and it speaks to exactly the season that I'm in, I have to just like not order any more books on Amazon, push pause on the rest, and be like, okay, hold on a second. I need to reread this multiple times and maybe spend 4 or 5 quarters or a year and a half just implementing the things that really resonate with me for some reason. And so that's what we're doing with Buy Back My Time. So it's just literally just saying like, okay, what's the next chapter that he says this is what we got to focus on? And we're just trying to implement.
Yeah. It's kind of like the revenue and profit. The revenue being able to say, I read 50 books this year. Hey, great.
Great point.
Yeah, you brought in 15 million this year. Okay, but what's your profit?
Yes.
What's the back end of that? What's
Great
the value that you earned from it? And you're going to earn way more reading one book at the end of this year than I will reading the 10 I read or whatever it is, just because of that. So I love that. Hopefully I steal that idea and don't get shiny object syndrome with book recommendations.
It's very easy to do, man. Very easy.
Awesome. All right, before we get out of here, let's talk about social medias. Where can people find more about you and your company?
Yep. I'm all in on Instagram. So Austin D. McMillan is the Instagram handle, and I just try to serve business owners through that lens. So what I realize is that I love getting together one-on-one coffee dates, but actually through this Buy Back Your Time concept, I realize that a better way to really allow people to understand who we are is not get coffee with 1,000 different people, but to be present on the internet where they can spend their own time, know, liking, and trusting us. And so that's the game that I'm playing right now. It's just to be present on the internet. And I'm doing all that through Instagram. So we're teaching business owners how to prioritize profit. We're putting principles out there on this channel. We're trying to show people essentially what we're doing every day for people to add value to them in their own business. And then if anybody ever wants to partner with us, they can reach out there and we'd be happy to serve their business.
Cool. And that's anywhere in the country. That's not just where we are.
Yeah, we're in 18 states right now. And so, and growing. We're hopefully moving to Hawaii pretty soon. I say not moving. We're
doing business
in Hawaii.
Yeah.
So once again, it's so much fun because we get to do everything via video call. It doesn't matter if you're in Birmingham or anywhere in the country. We can, serve your business through the lens of finance just because we know what it takes to do that.
Cool. So if you're a small business owner out there and you want some free content, go back and rewind on how to get some free stuff from Flywheel. And then if it's worth it, send up a call. Give Austin a call.
Love it. Thanks Blake, for having me, man. Appreciate it.